Hello, everyone, and welcome back to And All the Things. We are going live today at 12 p.m. with a very special guest that I'm going to pull in just a second to say hello to you. But so grab a cup of coffee, grab your water, grab your lunch, grab what you need to settle in for about 30 minutes of Marissa McAleer and All the Things. Let's see if I can't pull her in real quick. There we go. Hope everyone's doing well today. Let's see. Wait. Can we find her? Are you there? I hear you.
You can hear me, but I don't know why you can't see me.
Well, that is so interesting. Hi, Julie. Hi, Greg. Thank you guys for joining us. We're doing a quick sound check here today, and we're going to hop back on in just a few minutes after we figure out some audio visual. There she is. Oh, I love that.
I am so beyond proud of myself that I've made this happen. I was sweating, literally sweating. Okay,
so
good.
I appreciate that. Why don't we take a minute? We can hop off, drink some water real quick. We can hop back on, or we can just start talking now. What do you think?
I leave that up to you. My only concern is if I get off, will I be able to get back
on? Well, then let's just go for it, because I feel you've done so much in accomplishing this, right? And I know that sounds silly to a lot of people listening. I'm about 11 pushes of go live so far, so I've got a little advantage over you. But at the end of the day, for what we've come to lovingly call the dinosaurs on And All the Things, all of us who are not savvy with this, it's a huge accomplishment, right?
Yeah, and I'm a Zoom gal, you know what I mean? Like I work with clients on Zoom. I'm very comfortable with Zoom. COVID kind of forced me into Zoom, but this whole Instagram Live thing is just a wild frontier. So I think you're doing a really great job with it, and I'm just stoked that I figured out how to get on.
Life is all about consciously learning and growing and changing. And I think we're going to talk quite a bit about that today, but we cannot overlook, right? As a coach, when I work with my clients, it's always, we cannot overlook the small accomplishments and only think about the big frustrations, right? Like, this is a big deal. Learning something new on any level, growing in any way is a big deal. So let's all take a minute and celebrate. Woo-hoo.
Round of applause.
I love it. So let's catch up here. So for frame of reference, everyone, you are joining us for And All the Things. This is a series I started in September because I live in a world where I watch people shine their light, and I see it and I love it and I appreciate it. And my goal in life is to help others broaden that light, to share it farther, to make it stronger, more resilient, so that others too can stand in the light and learn and grow. And I bring to you today my dear friend, Marissa McAleer. She started in my journey as my yoga instructor when I first moved to New Jersey. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is how, because I had this vision of a yoga instructor, I had you on a pedestal, and that you knew everything and everything was just right, and you could manage all the body, mind, soul stuff. But the reality is we're all just humans, right? Trying to figure it out. So Marissa, tell me, you were a yoga instructor at that time. What else, where were you when we met? Catch us up from there, and let's see where you are today.
Speaking of that experience of how we met, it was so funny because when I moved to Flemington, and I only lived there in New Jersey, and I only lived there about a year and a half, I found a local gym, and they were looking for a yoga teacher. And when I went and I spoke with the owners, they're like, there's this one woman who's been like asking for yoga like every week, nonstop. And I was like, okay, but they didn't tell me who it was. And then I went into the class, and it was a pretty big group. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, right there, I knew it was you. I just could feel you were so excited to be there.
We belong together, my dear.
Yes, you were so excited to be there. And I knew. I was like, that's my yoga friend. That's the person who's been like jonesing for yoga.
And really, like, to explain the pedestal thing, right? Like, I remember you walking in, you always had like big fun socks on, and like you were so cool and chill. And I'm like, wow, she's got it all figured out. And what I learned and what you helped me learn is that we're all on a journey in evolution, and everyone gets to be on a pedestal, but it doesn't mean that if we don't understand something or don't get it right, we fall off. It just means we got there because we're willing to learn and churn through the bumps and bruises and keep growing. And that was a really important thing for me to bear witness from you. You showed me your humanity, your vulnerability, the sides of you that weren't quite figured out yet. And that helped me realize that my yoga practice was about that. And that your ability to lead me on the mat was your ability to manage the messy stuff of life on your own. And I really value that. And that is a cornerstone of how I think today. So how did you feel? Did you feel like you were on a pedestal every time you walk into a yoga class in that way?
You know, I don't, because I try to be very honest with my participants. You know, I kind of view a yoga practice as like we're kind of on this journey together as a team, and I'm kind of guiding you through it. But at the same time, I don't have it all figured out, and I'm going to make fun of myself. And when I'm teaching, let's say, a philosophy topic, I'm going to give you an example about how I'm trying to work on it in my own life and I don't have it down pat, you know, because I think otherwise it would just be disingenuous, you know, and where's the value in that, you know? And so just to circle back to your question of where we are and how we got here. So I'm a trained attorney. I practiced law for 10 years. When we met, I was teaching yoga on the side, and yoga is something that I got into just because of my own experiences with being chronically ill and having chronic pain. I didn't receive a proper diagnosis. I just had constant problems throughout my life, and it wasn't until I was well into my 30s that I was diagnosed with a connective tissue disorder. So it's called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And that kind of really just changed my whole perspective on what I was doing with my career. And I became a cancer exercise specialist, a senior fitness specialist, a personal trainer, you know, yoga teacher, obviously, and really do a lot of work with mindset coaching and nutrition coaching. And I work with a lot of people who have chronic illness and deal with chronic pain, whatever that might look like for them. And how can we safely empower you to move your body, to feel your best, to take charge of your health, to take control of your health to the extent that you can. And so I sort of made that shift in my own life from, you know, law with kind of the yoga on the side to this being my full-time gig. So yeah, so that's where we are. That's where we were. That's where we are.
That's awesome. And thank you. You know, we had Greg and Julian. Now we've got Donna Johnson joining us. If you guys have questions, go ahead and pop them in the comments. We will gladly touch on them. We want to get the most out of this for you. And I think that I love how you tied in the name of your business, which is Empowered Movement LLC, right? And the idea, what I do as a coach is I empower the human to find their best way, to bring their light, to shine it. And typically that's done, yes, we have health goals, but through actions and behaviors and driven by the mind. And I love how you turn it into empowering the body through our movement so that it can carry forth and do the mind, body, soul stuff. And I want to read a quote that you shared, and I shared it on Instagram and such yesterday. But friends, like this is where I find the spiritual maturity that you bring. You know, you're not boo-hooing and lamenting that you will struggle to move through life comfortably. You're using what you can to do the best with what you have. And you said, and I get a little busy inside because it makes me feel alive.
Busy? You're busy.
Marissa says, I have fallen in love with the process of doing everything I can to show up with this body as long as I can. And I think that is so powerful. It's very elevated, and I know that it's been a journey to get there, but can you talk us through how you get to that clarity, that love and respect for your body and awareness of, I hate to say limitations, but obstacles? right?
Yeah, no, and it is limitations, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll just give an example. I used to run marathons,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't do that anymore. You know, age.
Why? Can you
and
tell us what happens with your body with the
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, if you want me to give you a little bit of information.
little?
So
Mm-hmm.
with Ehlers-Danlos, essentially my connective tissue, so my ligaments, are overly stretchy. So I have loose joints, and when your joints kind of go in and out, it causes pain, skeletal muscular pain. The muscles have to work overtime to overcompensate for what the ligaments aren't doing to keep everything structurally sound. So they're sort of taking over. So a lot of, really tight muscles, fatigue. Your GI tract is connective tissue in part. So GI issues, headaches, brain fog, a lot of back pain, knee pain, things like that. So, for example, I used
running any marathons.
no more running, no more running. And there is a mourning process that you have to go through when it's, I can't do this thing that I used to love to do, but then it has to be, well, what can I do? It's a mental flip, and it's not easy, and it takes a really long time and a lot of work. And some days are easier than others, right? But it has to be that mental flip of, I can focus on what I can't do, or I can find something that I can do that will bring me joy, right? And so that's a choice.
Yes.
Right?
That's
a choice.
Absolutely. Joy is what we find in the middle of the happiness and suffering. And what I'm hearing you say is, you look at it, well, I cannot do this with my body, but what can I do? And it's the same emotional, physical agility that we have to practice with our relationships. Well, it's not what I want it to be, but what could it be, right? With our mindset towards our jobs. I don't love my job, but could I love parts of it? And then getting that information and that data and saying, now what do I do with it? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I view it as a responsibility that I owe to myself. And this is where that quote comes from, to do everything I can do to keep this body doing the things that I love for as long as I can. And then if it can't, if running is now out, okay, it has to be hiking, or it has to be walking, or it has to be something else. But using these limitations as an excuse then to say, well, if I can't run, I'm going to do nothing. Right. That's just bringing misery to me, right? And why would I want to do that? So I want to have joy, so I'm going to find something else that will bring me joy that I am capable of doing. And that's sort of the difference that I view between acceptance and surrender, right? So I'm going to accept my limitations, right? And work with them, but I'm not going to surrender to them, and I'm not going to give up doing what I can do.
Right. It's how do you keep the power and energy going in the right direction, right? Like, we cannot be self-limiting in what we think. And there are so many options in life, right? Like you said, if you cannot do this, what can you do? Can you hike? Can you walk? Can you swim? Can you, I don't even know, watch great videos and climb an elliptical? I don't know. But it's so important to have that perspective. How did you find that perspective, right? Because I know you've done the work through yoga and the mental practice there. And I know that you were working with, as you said, the older adult people with cancer. And like, how do you learn this to be able to teach it? Mentors, experience, because that takes, like I said, you've got some legit spiritual maturity. And we can talk about baby souls maybe, but
baby souls, just so everyone knows, is something that one of my yoga teacher used to say about persons with a little bit of spiritual immaturity. And I don't mean that to sound arrogant in any way, but just people who were maybe doing things that were really unkind, or she'd say, well, they're baby souls. They haven't been reborn enough times yet to have spiritual maturity. And I don't know how much I believe in rebirth, but I liked the idea of baby souls. It kind of was just like, all right, you're baby soul. Like, be compassionate. Yeah, be compassionate. I think, to answer your question, I think the way I kind of got to where I am was just, I didn't have any other option, is how I felt.
Well,
right. So I think
your option could have been do nothing and lament and go dark, right? Because that's always an option.
Right. That is an option. That's true. That is an option.
Turning away from that, choosing to not feed that mentality takes courage and determination. How do you maintain that then? You know, like,
I mean, it was a long journey to get there. And it was a lot of that lamenting. And there was a lot of periods of darkness where, you know, you're in the hospital with a migraine that you've had for 3 months that hasn't broken, and I'm getting IV steroids. It's very easy to get very down and very depressed in those moments. But I think that it was a lot of work. It was a lot of working with a talk therapist who specialized in chronic illness, who's fantastic. It was a lot of yoga. It was a lot of exploring ways to move my body that felt safe. It was a lot of being an advocate for myself, really having to navigate a medical field that a lot of times felt like it was not helping me.
right.
You know, like all these specialists who are really in a narrow way looking at the brain, the stomach, the back, instead of like a holistic view of what's
Right.
going on with this body.
Yep.
Right? So I wish there was a quick answer, and but there's not. I think it's a very slow, gradual process. And I think the way I speak to clients and the advice I give is, let's start with one thing you can control. Right? There's so much you can't control when you're dealing with chronic illness, when you're dealing with chronic pain. What's something you can control? You know what you can control? You can control what you eat today. That is completely within your control. You know, and no, like, oh, I don't have time. Like, blah, 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 blah. You can control
Something.
something. You can control adding a vegetable to your dinner. You can control drinking water. You can control these things, right? What else? Okay, so let's start with that.
Yep.
Low-hanging fruit, pun intended, right?
Yes.
Fruit, like fruit. And then the next thing is, can you walk? You know, okay, so we can do that. We can walk. Okay, we can't walk. We're just not able to walk. Okay, can you move your arms?
Yep.
Okay, let's do something there. You know, can't do either. Can you visualize it? Can you sit and visualize moving your body? Right? Let's do that. You know, so it's just starting and slowly starting to incorporate these things over time. You start to say, hey, I can do things. I can do these things within my control. And it's empowering to feel like you have some control when chronic illness makes you really feel like out of control.
Yep. And I think that's such a great life experience. You know, I always correlate you with life on the mat, right? And you have to start small and just show up for the mat sometimes, right? And just start doing little things. And I've talked to people in the work that I do, and just start by making your bed in the morning, right? Start by controlling one factor. Take away one condition that gets in the way of success later on in the day. And then that expands to much bigger things, much more, you know, important things, if you will. But it's scaffolding. It's building a story in your head of, I can do things. Wait a minute. I didn't think I could, but I can. What if I tried? And to me, it's about the curiosity, right? Staying curious about what could be tomorrow and what can be in a year, and finding ways to bring that to life. And I really, the foundation of this little season of my show is about how people use their gift to grow, change, and serve. And where you could have chosen limitations, you're taking opportunities, because now it's not just you growing in your gift. You've identified that your body is your gift. The way you use it for others and for yourself and to cultivate greatness is your gift, right? So it takes that determination and the understanding that you do have a gift to share, and it is important, and the world gets brighter when you do, seems to be a driver for you. Would you say that's so?
Absolutely. When this became my mission in my mind, it took some of the shame out of it for me that I had experienced in my life previously, when I'm a yoga teacher who, in my mind, my back is screaming in pain, but I don't want anyone to know, because then I'll look like a fraudulent yoga teacher, right? When in reality now, I'll limp my ass into class and be like, look,
Get it, girl.
I have a connective tissue disorder. I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to honor my body today, and I'm going to modify the movements. And if you want to explore a further movement, go for it. Here's how you do it. I'm going to verbalize it to you, right? So now I own it. It's helped me allow this to be part of who I am and not be ashamed of it. And also to show others that this is part of who you are, but it does not need to define you.
Amen. Preach.
You can do, right? Right? I mean, you can, I know you're a church-going lady, so I'm going to preach.
I'm a spiritual lady that wants to find that divine gift that is what I see as God in all of us, right? And the more we can hear that it's not easy, but we can do it our own way and our gift has purpose, that to me is heaven on earth, right? That's how I perceive spirituality and religion and faith. And it's a wonderful thing to watch you do that. And I think that's where, when I say I gained understanding of people on a pedestal, I think you go higher up on the pedestal when you say, I'm vulnerable, I'm not perfect, right? But I am on this journey of growth and I'm showing up to serve. And I think that's the power within that, that number one attracted me to you. It gave me permission to not feel perfect on the mat and to feel competitive or wherever. It taught me to isolate in on my experience. And again, anyone in the chat, thank you all for joining. If you have questions, please go ahead and ask them. We want to be able to touch on that. So one of the things though that I have to ask about with all of, you get the diagnosis, which is great. It kind of sucks that you have it, but it's great to know it, right? And we've talked about that here before. How does that play out for your mental health though, right? As you said, you're a yoga instructor, your body is your craft, your temple, you're a marathon runner, and like I said, your gift is your body, right? How does that play into, in a world where we have an inundation of expectations about what a body should look like, what a healthy body is, how a healthy body moves and grows? What does that do to your head game?
When I received a diagnosis, it was a game changer for the positive. Before that, I had done a lot of my own mental work where I came to accept the fact that I had something going on that was systemic, full body, but that they hadn't named it. And so I was okay with that. I called it chronic illness. I didn't know what it was, but I said, I have some kind of chronic illness, But once I could name it, it felt so validating for me. It felt like this is an entire lifetime of experience explained and justified. So the doctors who doubted me, the medical professionals who called me a hypochondriac or said it was mental illness, it's just depression, which is so degrading in and of itself to speak that way. But back then that's what they said. It was so validating to be able to say, this is what it is. And then I felt really comfortable to speak openly with others and say, you know what? Yeah, this is my body. This is my profession. This is what I do. But I can't do everything, but look at what I can do. Do you see what I'm saying? So, I mean, I can't do maybe everything I want to do or everything I know in my mind I can do. I'm like, oh, I could so do that, but my body's like, not going to happen. But you know what? I can do other. Yeah, not today. Not today. I'm like, in my mind, I'm a gymnast. I'm like doing all these things, My body's like, nah, it's not going to happen, But I can do what I can do. And then I try to make that be an inspiration for other people, particularly to work with older adults, people with cancer or in recovery from cancer, people with physical disabilities. It's like, look, you could do stuff. Don't listen to this idea that unless your body is some kind of perfect aesthetic that society has decided or is capable of doing X, Y, Z, that you can't do anything. You can do what you can do, and we need to celebrate that and do more of it. Do more of it.
Do as much of it as you can. And
for as long as you can. For as long as you can.
And I think we very easily write off the experience of our aging bodies just as old age, right? Oh, accept it because that's what happens when you get old. Well, you know, I don't agree with that. And my mom's on here and you know, hi mom. But I'm watching my parents age and I'm watching them still maintain vitality and courage. And my mom was, I don't know, hiking glaciers or something, wherever they were in Alaska a couple months ago, right? And she has never seen herself as an athlete, but she now sees herself as a person who wants to embrace the opportunity of travel and the world. And I love watching that. It's inspirational to me because I'm like, oh, life doesn't end when we get old, right? It doesn't have to. I mean, it eventually does. But it eventually will for all of us.
Death and taxes.
But I think I love that you're working with this specific population because we don't give enough credit to that experience. We lump it in as, just like we do when people have babies. Oh, that's what a baby does. Well, maybe they're not crying because they're just a baby. Maybe they need to get their back adjusted or something, or maybe they're constipated, right? Like it could be anything, and we just lump it all together. So how do you help these individuals break through the mindset, right? Because you can sit them in a chair and move their feet and move their arms, but time has told them for decades, you're done when you're over the hill, or I don't even know when that is anymore, but right, how do you bridge that mindset?
They're populations who are often unseen, right? And as someone who's experienced chronic illness and felt unseen, unheard, unacknowledged, I think the first thing I try to do is make everyone feel really heard, seen, acknowledged. You know, speak your name, introduce yourself, tell me what's going on with you. How are you feeling today? How can I help you? What do you need to work on today? You know, oh, I can't do that. Okay, well, what can you do? Let me see. You know, let me see what you can do here. You need to touch the wall? Let's go to the wall. Let's do it in the chair. You know, let's modify it. And you see people's spirits just light up when it's like, I can do that. I did
Someone
that.
gives a crap, right?
Yeah, someone's acknowledging me. Yeah, someone's seeing me. You know, okay, you're in cancer recovery and you're experiencing lymphedema. What can we do to support you here? Because no one has told you anything about it. That I see that all the time. You know, no one has advised you that this is a risk, that this might happen after your treatment. No one's told you what to do about it. You know, so it's like, okay, let's talk about it. Have you tried self-massage? Have you tried, you know, getting in there? Or have you gone to physical therapy? You know, let's talk it through. So it's just hearing you and seeing you and meeting you where you are. I have no expectations. I have no demands. I'm not coming in there yelling at you, you know, like come on, 10 more squats. You know, no, it's like not that.
Or something
like unless it's what you want to do. Unless it's what you want to do, and that's fine.
We've talked about this. Everybody has to find their way for their body. The empowerment from within for the movement has to be authentic to the person, right? But to your point, that population is unseen, and to walk in and start pounding, you know, pavement and blowing whistles, that's, you know, that doesn't meet them where they are. And I think, you know, in all those different categories, whether it's the, you know, cancer bubble of people who aren't seen, right? We do cluster that, oh, they're in chemo. No. They're having their unique experience through chemo. There is no two chemo experiences alike, and just like anything else. And one of the nuggets I want to pull out is that you kind of correlated, you know, the experience of aging and your chronic illness as just like a lumped together thing, right? And imagine if we treated people as bodies on their journey, all dealing with some kind of chronic illness, because we all are, whether it's toxins from the environment, the foods that we eat, we are, well, maybe not all of us. Some people do a really top-notch job. But by and large, society, we are not well. We are over-medicated, we are overfed, we are all the things, right? We drink too much, we smoke too much, we stress too much, we spend too much. How do you help make sense of that? Like, how do we how do we quiet all the noise and focus in on where the person is on their journey uniquely? And I think your experience is a guidepost for that. Because you didn't just start teaching people in this cancer sector or this, particular age group or chronic illness sector. You legit quit your job, shifted gears, and said, I've got to do something. And it was for you and for them. I mean, that's a big choice. How do you quiet out all the noise of I should stay in this career, I should take it easy on my body, and find the courage to move forward?
It felt like it was a necessity. At that point, it felt like there was no other choice. Mm-hmm. I felt like working in law was making me sicker. Mm-hmm. I'd always tell my husband every time I'd come out of court, I would have such a headache I could barely see straight. Mm-hmm. The stress of it all.
And that's no way to live. And
right.
Your unique diagnosis probably led you to that. The job was making the disease worse, right? And everything surrounds it. Right. So carry on.
And that was my experience. And, I will also say too, I was privileged in a way where, I had worked long enough and I have a husband who works, and I was able to make this transition, without having to, struggle and scrape and take out loans and stuff. Someone else may have a completely different experience where that's not an option. And so I'm not, judging anyone's choices. It was for me, after 10 years, it was starting to take its toll on me physically. And so when the opportunity presented itself to make that shift, it felt like it was something that I had to do.
I love that you listened, and I appreciate that you call out the presence of that privilege, because it is, I quit my job and I started my business, and I do acknowledge my privilege. I planned, I worked hard for years in advance to put myself in a position to do that. There is no suggestion of just flip the script on life, right? But it's, for you, it sounds like the awareness of everything is okay today, but slowly the scale is tipping out of favor. And it's the being present and being conscious. And we have talked a lot about being conscious on the journey, and knowing where you are and being able to compare it backwards and forwards to where you want to be. So what do you think is next for you? If you look ahead into your crystal ball, what are you working on, or where do you want to grow next?
Well, I have 4 dogs, so I don't want any more. No.
Touché. No more dogs.
No more four adopted dogs. I feel like it is my responsibility to put this information out there in as many mediums and in as many ways as possible. So whether that's group classes, one-on-one coaching, working with a nonprofit, doing classes that way, doing something like this I thought was a great opportunity, and which is why I reached out to you to do this. When I saw you were doing podcasts, I was like, I feel like this is information that isn't put out there enough. So many people feel ashamed and they hide because they're going through something and they don't want other people to know, or they don't want to speak it. And that was my experience. I didn't want to speak it. I didn't want anyone to think I was weak, right? I was an attorney. I don't want you to think I'm weak. Oh, poor Marissa, she's sick. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm invincible. I'm fine. And then I'd go home and have to sleep for 15 hours because I was so sick coming out of, for example, a hearing. So for me, it's putting it out there that this is reality. We're all dealing with something, right? Whether it's an aging body, whether it's chronic illness, whether it's cancer or disability, or whether it's something completely different, a career issue, a life issue, a family issue.
Family, and in your marriage, or in your whatever.
Exactly. Everyone's on some kind of journey, and the more we're able to speak it honestly, and the more we're able to take responsibility for ourselves, own it, and do what is within your power to change it. That's what I'm trying to do. Get that information out there to people and help in any way that I can. I had a client recently who has chronic illness, who told me I was able to go to Costco and like carry the case of water like by myself.
That's a big deal to not
Yeah,
have
I
to
don't think
count on
that's huge.
to hope
I was like,
that
that is huge.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's empowering, that you didn't need to get someone to come do it for you. You did it for yourself because you worked towards that, you know,
Yep.
through your strength training.
Important. That's empowerment. It's not, well, Marissa told me to do this, or Marissa can help me with, it's, I can pull this out of myself. And I say it's over and over and over again in my coaching calls when people are like, oh yeah, well, you're right about that. No. I don't want to be right. I want you to be clear. I want you to be strong. I want you to feel empowered to own where you are and to make something with it, even if it's messy, right? But to just do the best you can with what you have. And that does require removing those self-limiting beliefs of, I'll never go to Costco and handle my own business again. And I appreciate that, because what you just said, and this is where the universe works in all of us, what you just said is my mission. It is I want to help people. I just truly want to help people be their best selves so that they can go forth and bring their gift, right? Whatever their gift might be. And it is inspiring to me to watch people that I know, love, and trust commit to this way of being for themselves and for the greater good. So I, for one, am incredibly grateful, not only for the work you did with me on the yoga mat and then the subsequent friendship, but for the way you are caring for our brothers or sisters, our neighbors, all of us. So if people wanted to find out more about the work you do, or get involved in a group, or schedule a coaching session, how do they do that? How do we get more Marissa and all the things?
Oh, more Marissa, that's a lot. That's asking for a lot. I'm a lot. No. I don't know if y'all need more Marissa. No, I'm just kidding. So you can find me on Facebook.
You are
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Empowered Movement LLC. My email, Marissa, first name, .McAleer, last name, @gmail.com. Reach out however you feel comfortable. I do virtual work. I could do phone work. I also do in person, but that's obviously, I live in New Hampshire, so that's limited geographically. Thank you for asking that. And I do want to say, when I was telling some of my clients about this, and those who couldn't make it to watch live, they wanted to see the recording, so I said I'd gladly send it. The way I described you is a life coach who focuses on joy, but really is just a ray of sunshine. And that's how I've always viewed you. You know, I'm a little cynical. My life experiences have kind of brought me there. I've softened my edges over time, but I'm a little cynical. That's right. But I always view you as open and delightful and positive and so pleasant to talk to. So I do appreciate your kind words, and I appreciate, and I appreciate the work that you're doing, because it's important. It's important work.
Thank you. And thank you. And I agree, not because I'm the one doing it, but because I have been the recipient, and that I've gained value in my own life through healthy, whether it's mentorship, yoga teachers, it's people, it's building relationships with people you trust and can help you elevate and help you grow beyond whatever's got you stuck, right? So I have used coaches to help me move through, and I just can't stop wanting to share it forward, because I am not unique in feeling the awareness that there's happiness and there's suffering and there's joy in the middle. I get to choose where I put my energy and my effort. And to me, that's a gift. That is peace and harmony in my day. And I want others to have it. I do not like to keep a good thing to myself, which is why I created this Instagram Live space, because it's not just my good thing. Your good thing needs space and light and time. And I am honored to share it with you, and to share it with those paying attention today and those who will be listening in the future. But I would say the takeaway is stay curious. Don't listen to what a diagnosis or a doctor or a boss or a parent or a media outlet says you should be. Stay curious. And
yeah, I love that.
And move, because God, people you work with, if they stay still, that's it. That's it.
Absolutely. Movement is medicine. That is the best way I can say it. Movement is medicine. And something that I heard Deepak Chopra say that really stuck with me was that the medical profession can give you a diagnosis. They cannot give you a prognosis. And I thought that was extremely powerful. So you can tell me what my condition is, but you cannot tell me how I'm going to proceed with it. Right? Because a lot of that is within my control.
Yep.
Right? Whether it's what I'm eating, how I'm moving, stress management, sleep, the people I surround myself with, all of those things, that's within my power. And some of it's not within my power, you know, and that's the acceptance part. But those things, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Carrie.
No, I was just gonna say, that's where when I say I have to do what needs to be done to keep this body going and doing the things I love for as long as I can, that's within my responsibility. Yep.
And that's within your positive result, because you do then influence more control over it. And, you know, I'll close by saying I appreciate this. It's a good reminder, because about a year ago, my husband was diagnosed with MS. And the first moment was, like, life is over, we're going to be in wheelchairs and catastrophe, right? And then when we started turning the leaf over and got curious about it, he's never just one thing. None of us are, but he is not just a guy with MS. He's a guy that has choices about how he spends his day, and I'm very proud of him. It's been a bumpy journey, of course, but it's helped our whole family change our relationships with food and meat and exercise and stress and different factors that changed the conditions for him to be a guy dealing with MS, right? And it has made such a difference. And I'm grateful for the diagnosis. It sucks that he has it. I'm very sorry that we have to deal with this, but the reality is we can deal with it because we have choice in you know, the authorship over our day. And I love the reminder of that, because some days it's easy to lose focus. But I appreciate that so much, because we need more acceptance of whether it's a substance abuse issue, mental health issues. These are all chronic things that plague us. And having the mentorship, having the ability to gain perspective from other people, I think is critical. And I see that that's what you and I do. How do we help shine the light so people can walk forward, literally, for you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, literally. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that about your husband. And, you know, it's so hard having to be such a staunch advocate for your own health within the medical field, which I'm sure y'all have experienced to your own degree. You know, just keep pushing forward, one foot in front of the other. And as they say, how do you eat an elephant? Not that you should eat an elephant. Elephants are delightful. It's one bite at a time, you know, and that's it. That's it.
That a couple months ago. And that's it. And it's also honor the days where you feel like crap. Honor them. Like some days his head game is not, you know, ideal, but you know what? He's human, and he gets to have a bit of sadness as long as we don't stay there too terribly long. You know, and we choose to do something. So it has given me perspective on people who deal with whatever the condition is. And it's given me the reminder that we can do things to create a more peaceful condition, right? We cannot change certain parts of life, but we can change how we deal with them. And I'm terribly grateful for the way that you do that for all of us and for the journey that we have shared. And I will forever, in the back of my mind when I'm doing yoga here, let the arms run down the ribs like wings. And and that is a takeaway from you, because it reminds me that when the wings go out, we can fly. And
I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. I can't believe you remember that. That's amazing. Yeah, you do. You're a good student. By the way, your hair looks fabulous today.
Thanks.
Yeah, I tried to do mine, but this is about as good as it gets.
I think you look fantastically perfect. Love every bit of you. I cannot wait to catch up again soon. To everyone who joined us, thank you so much for signing in. If you like it, tell your friends, because we have good news to share, and that's that you have a choice in how you move through life with your body, with your mind, and with your soul. So on behalf of Marissa and myself, thank you for signing in to End All the Things. We'll catch you next Thursday at 12 o'clock. Take care.
Thanks, Michaela.
Bye.
Bye.